Hey everyone, James here with Cowboy Cricket Farms, and as always we're here to impart a little bit of cricketing knowledge. Today is Q&A session numero 4. So my French is a little bit rough, but that's 4. I'm not actually sure what Q&A session we're on, but we're going to call this one 4 because I called the last one 3. We might be on 7 at this point. You know, I just don't know. The important thing here is we are answering your questions. Most of which are received off of YouTube, so you may have already received an answer for this, but we're going to make sure that we get it out there for everyone to hear, making sure that you know how to raise your crickets right, you got all your facts right, you understand our products and process and the company itself. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first question is, you're a fan of Autosport, the British motoring magazine? Ha, ha, ha. But actually, yes. While I don't subscribe to any magazines, I've definitely read Autosport plenty of times. I love that one. You can usually pretty much only get it around here in like Barnes and Noble and stuff. But definitely do like Autosport. Not what I was talking about. Motorsport, maybe if you want to call it that. This was a question off of our video about building a rally car, part 1. There's going to be many more parts coming out about that. But we have some cricket-based stuff coming out first. Clayton Shearer asks, hello! Hi, Clayton. We want to start a cricket farm in Eastern Ontario. How much does an average cricket farm make? So this is actually a really difficult, if not impossible, question to answer. There is no average. We have cricket farms within our network that were as small as 400 square feet, as big as 12,000 square feet. And you know what? They make very different numbers. Not just do they make different incomes overall, but their efficiency, how much they make per square foot, however you want to measure it, it's just different. There's also so many different methods. Even if you use our general way of doing things, you can change how many people you hire, you can change the location, which will change how much your building costs, etc., etc. There really just is not a great answer for this, but you know what? Maybe we should make a video about it, just so that at least you know all the variables. In the meantime, I highly suggest you go on our site and check out the How to Become a Cricket Farmer page, link in the description below, and that'll give you a lot more information, not only links to our other videos about how to start cricket farming, but also some actual numbers on how to figure out your costs, etc. Fermenty Mountain says, your drift is straight up. I want to distribute you an AVL. So I'd ask where this was. Turns out it's back east. But yeah, absolutely. Hey, if you want to distribute our product, let me know. I'm not saying that we say yes to everyone, but I can share with you our wholesale price lists, and we're a very transparent company. We give out all the information. It's not a big deal. We definitely can and are looking for more distributors. Everything right now we do ourselves. So we make the sales calls, we do the distribution. We ship it to the stores, we do all of that. And if you want to help out, then all the power to you. James at cowboycrickets.com. Bam! Moving on. Molag Ball, I don't know, asks, I have a few questions. 1. How do you breed them properly and the water substrate where the eggs are? 2. Can I keep adult and baby crickets together? Okay, so first off, we've answered this question before. Watch our How to Farm Crickets videos. Pretty much takes care of it. Second, yes, you can keep the babies and adults or any age range together, really. And some will certainly live. There's a couple issues. One, the adults may eat the younger ones, especially if they have a lack of food or lack of space. But really what it comes down to is in a commercial environment, this is simply not efficient. You're going to have a whole bunch of different age ranges. You can't harvest a whole bin. You can't breed the whole bin. It just doesn't work. However, if you want to do this at home and just kind of have some crickets and you take a few out and give them to your lizard, or you're using it as a experiment or whatever, then sure, that's perfectly acceptable. There's really no reason not to. Scott Pasinski says, specifically, what type of sponges are you using for watering? So we have a video all about watering in our How to Farm Cricket series. Check that out. Also, link in the description below to all of our equipment, including our sponges. So if you go down there, look at sponges, click on that Amazon link, it'll take you right to it. But they are vegetable cellulose. We do this because if the crickets start eating plastic, they get filled up with plastic and they die, or even worse, they don't die, and then you eat the plastic in them. So just bad juju all around. We don't want to do this. With the vegetable cellulose, even though they don't eat it really, they are given at least the opportunity to have a safe meal if they do take tiny, tiny little bites of it. Monica Ammerman says, I've watched all your videos about crickets over the last 2 days. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Sit down there and get some education. Thank you so much from a budding entrepreneur. How can you clean your bins for regular maintenance if you keep your crickets in the same tote for their complete life cycle? I'm interested in having to move them from bin to bin less. So, easy one, we don't. We wait until the end of their life cycle. Now what you can do is wipe off the outside of the bins. You can keep the farm itself really, really sanitary, but the inside of the bin you are not going to disturb unless there is an issue. If you have a huge die-off, a bunch of humidity, some kind of something gets in it, it's attacked by spiders or something, then, sure, take it apart. But otherwise, we're not going to clean that bin. All we're doing is we're replacing food, replacing water, and making sure that it's safe. And to help you with this, coming very soon, check out our video from last week. We have an automation system that we finally have in the prototype phase, and in the next few months will be available for you to start trying. Okay, now the next thing I have is actually from an email, so just bear with me. Great amount of questions in here, though. Some fantastic questions for the actual content. Just kind of all hit me at once. So let's go piece by piece and just kind of knock this out. Small scale farming questions. Franch G. Smith asks, hello, hi. First of all, I'd like to thank you so much for the work and dedication you and your family have been putting into your YouTube videos. You're welcome. Thank you. I find it awesome that you're sharing such knowledge free of charge. I've been watching your videos and seem to have mounded a few questions. But first, a bit of context for you. Generally speaking, I'm looking to start my cricket farm on a small scale from my home. We see this a lot with people, by the way, and it's absolutely great. Keep those expenses low. Keep those expenses as low as possible. Figure out if this is something you even want to do. My production goals are to feed my family of 2 cricket meals a week, and also to make a small surplus of cricket flour in order to sell at farmers markets once a month in the summer. That's awesome. Other than feeding my family, my end goal is to get more people on board with entomophagy in order to help ecologically. Anywho, I'll hop on to my questions now. I like that. Very, very good. While looking to purchase my first batch of live crickets, it seems like I can only find local breeders that are breeding crickets for animal feed. Is there a risk in starting my farm using these crickets for eventual human consumption? In short, no. That's how almost every farm gets their first crickets. As long as they're the right species and you treat them properly and all that, really not a big deal. What I do not suggest, though, is using that actual batch of crickets for human consumption. Breed them literally until they're all dead. The next batch, okay, preferably the 3rd batch of crickets, that's when you can really start using them. But you really should be focusing on growing that population at first anyways, so there you go. Some people lay a screen or mesh on top of the bowls or breeding dirt in order to prevent adults from burrowing in them. Have you ever had issues with not using meshes? So we don't use a mesh ourselves. Some of our farms do. There is no right or wrong answer here. You can absolutely use mesh. What we found is good side, they don't eat the eggs. Bad side, they might break the ovipositors, and also it's just more labor and more stuff to buy. So that's really a you decision. There's no right or wrong answer. What do you do once you've used the peat moss for breeding? Can you reuse it, or is it best to compost it? You can do either. We generally use it until it starts showing some kind of signs of contamination, such as white mold or something else, a lot of frass. At that point, it's fantastic for using your garden. So, both. How long can you keep crickets in the freezer before processing them before you start to lose freshness or quality of product? Okay, I'm not a food scientist, so this might not be a perfect answer. But we process stuff almost as soon as we get it, usually within a few days at least. If you package it correctly, though, you can keep it in the freezer for a long time. At least several months. So, hey, maybe we can get a food scientist on board, someone with a little bit more knowledge about freezing food products and longevity that can chime in on this. It's just not something that we do, so I don't really know. If you know, boop, comment in the comments below. Also, right now, like, share, subscribe. Come on, guys. I'm giving you all this knowledge for free, taking all the time to do it, though the least that you could do is hit that little subscribe button, and of course the notification bell. Give us some comments, share this video, let your friends know that you're into insects, and so are we. So, there you go. Moving on. You have mentioned that if one doesn't have access to a top-notch dehydrator, that you can boil the crickets for 5 to 10 minutes before dehydrating them. How do you get rid of excess water before dehydrating them while avoiding crushing the crickets? Would letting them sit in a colander work? This isn't a perfect situation, but yeah, you can do that. Dab them with a paper towel, that works too. Or just dry them longer. Do you need to salt the water? Like for flavor? No. Does it smell bad to boil them? It's a unique smell. It doesn't smell bad, but it's just different. It's similar to drying them, which is kind of a grainy smell. It smells a lot like you're drying out barley, but it's not quite the same. Since we are on the topic of smell, if you clean out the bins every 3 days and change the bins every 1 month, does it smell to have crickets in smaller rooms, about 10 by 10? Well, no, not really. If you maintain the crickets properly and you make sure that they're healthy and well taken care of, there really isn't a smell issue. If you mistreat them, it doesn't matter how big your building is or how big the area is, it's going to smell pretty bad. Once mature, how bad is the noise level of the chirping adult males for, let's say, 3 18-gallon bins? It's not too bad. Really, the thing is, insulate your room, keep in the heat, but that insulation also keeps in the noise. So you really aren't going to have a big issue of noise getting out to other places if you insulate the room properly. It's a high-pitched noise. It doesn't travel very well. Has it ever happened that a bin was dropped and the lid flew open? If so, how'd you wrangle them all up? So we've shown this before. We have a really simple little device. It's a bin with feed and water and an egg carton or two in there and a ramp going right up the side. And these things will find food and water from basically anywhere. They'll just crawl right up the ramp, bloop, plop in there, kind of collect themselves. Other than that, make sure that your room is really well secured and sealed up. That way they can't get out of the room and find other things. I'm not sure if you'd know this one. How do you know if there's an ecological risk to farming tropical house crickets or even house crickets in North America? Let's say they escape. Would it hurt the local ecosystem or would they simply die off? We've been asked this probably 100 times by now, and I don't think I've ever actually put it in a video. This is even a question that we had when we first started, and we needed to figure out, are we even allowed to do this? Is there an environmental risk? So short answer, nope, no risk. Long answer, here's why. You can find these crickets on basically every part of the planet, every continent. Technically there's some in Antarctica sometimes because of research, but that's not a natural environment. But otherwise they're basically anywhere in the world. There's a reason why it's called the common house cricket. It's because it's really freaking common. With that said, they're not locusts. They don't swarm and knock out giant amounts of area and land and stuff like that. Even if every wall off of our biggest farm fell off right now, what would happen is they would get out, assuming it's warm, and most of them would be eaten by birds and lizards and snakes and stuff. Those that didn't would live for a little while until you're just kind of casually eating grass until it started getting cold. And if you are anywhere other than pretty much near the equator, within maybe 15, 20 degrees of the equator, these things just aren't going to live all year round. They're either going to go dormant in the winter, or if you're up in a place like Montana, they will straight up die. They will just be frozen to death when it's negative 30 degrees outside, plus wind chill, making it negative 60. Ain't nothing surviving through that. So, no, it's not an ecological risk, and I am so confident in this that I even have a bit of outside proof, and that is the USDA. So when we started this process, we wanted to know, what are the rules? Can we do this? And the Montana Department of Agriculture came back to us and said, look, here's what the USDA says. They say that there are 2 species that can be transported live to any state with 0 permitting or regulations. Cheta domesticus, Grilla sigillus. Common house cricket, banded cricket. That is why you see those 2 species so predominantly in the market, because we can actually transport them, and we don't have to have a special permit every time we move them. We don't have to have all kinds of special packaging or anything. And that is because they don't present a risk. They're not going to wipe out crops. They're not going to spread a bunch of disease. They're not going to do anything like that. They're pretty mundane little bugs. And because of that, they're safe. So that is probably my favorite question of the day. And on that bombshell, it's also time to end. So until next week, let me know down in the description below, what questions do you have? What can we figure out for you? Make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Come on, guys, you got to do it. Check out the new website, cowboycrickets.com. And until next time, stay trippy, my friends. Bye. In order to